This is the new Mercedes A Class Sedan, and it's here to replace the CLA. Yes, the same good-looking coupe that preferred form over function. Now this is based on the same platform, but it's a newer car, and we expect it to offer more comfort, more space and nicer feel-good features. Now this will continue to be the entry-level or the most affordable model that Mercedes sells in India, and that means that it will go up against other affordable models from other luxury car makers like BMW, Audi and Volvo. Now the price for this car is expected to be around rupees 42 lakhs. Now that leaves us with two things to do today. First is whether the new A-Class sedan ticks all the right boxes to actually, project itself as a luxury car. And two, can it be a better purchase option than what we consider now as the right entry-level model to go for in the market, the BMW X1. When it comes to visual appeal, the A-Class sedan doesn't garner the same sort of attention or affection like the CLA did, and that's most obvious when viewed in profile. It has a long wheelbase and short overhangs, and it's the proportions of the bonnet against the boot that in our opinion robs the car of a more soothing presence. From the front and rear three-quarters, however, the A-Class sedan does have a fair bit of appeal. It sits squat on the ground, it looks young, and it follows a minimalistic design philosophy which gives it a simpler but upmarket aura. But it's not a design that would have onlookers or prospect buyers swooning over it for sure. Inside though, the A-Class sedan is brilliant. The look and feel of the cabin is clearly the most upmarket and luxurious in its class in India, which is essentially all the SUVs. The choice of material and finishes from leather to wood to metal makes you instantly want the A-Class. Then you have these flat screens that bring an air of modernity to the mix. And finally, the perforated finish, the design of the air vents, the choice of the toggles for seat adjustment, mode changing and temperature altering highlight the attention to detail on the car. All of this enhances its luxury appeal no doubt. It might be the most affordable Mercedes in India, but there's nothing entry-level about the A-Class sedan's feature list. It gets electric seats and memory for both passengers. It has a multifunction steering that adjusts for reach and rake, which along with the adjustable seat makes it easy to find a good driving position. There are intuitively reactive keypads on the steering to control the flow of info on both the multimedia screen and the driver information system. There's a two-zone climate control system, wireless charging, and a sunroof, of course. But the big play for Mercedes is the MBUX system and the connected car tech, which the others in its price and perception class don't offer. The MBUX, brought alive by saying, "Hey Mercedes," is your in-car assistant that learns on the go about your preferences, making your interface with the car more intuitive, says Mercedes. You can ask the system to set up navigation, change the in-cabin temperature, and change music and make calls among other bits. As for the connected car tech, it is similar to what we have seen on the likes of the Kia Sonet and the Honda City, which via mobile app or Alexa or Google Home can fetch you information about the car and start it as well. On the safety end, apart from 7 airbags and ABS and ESP, the A-Class also gets other driving assistance systems like assistive braking. Now space-wise or otherwise, the place to be in the A-Class sedan has to be up front, but if you happen to sit at the back, it's not too bad. As you can see, the knee room is good. The leg room not so much, because with my setting and the seat being low, there's very little room for you to move around move your feet around. In terms of headroom, of course, there is a good amount, especially when you compare it to the CLA, the car that it replaces. I think going for the flattish roof instead of the sloping down has really helped here. And overall comfort levels are decent too. I mean, of course, shoulder room isn't great, so you'd probably 3 would be a squeeze, but if you are just 2 people seated at the back with the armrest down, I think there's enough space for both. And this armrest is usable. The one on the door is also usable. It falls comfortably to your arms. Seat back angle is not too upright, not too far back, so that feels right too. And so it's a good place to be in. Not a great place, but if you happen to sit at the back, you should be fine. There are, however, 2 negatives when it comes to sitting at the back. First is thigh support. As you can see, the seats are set a little low, and even if you want to utilize it, you'll have to move your feet under the seat where, again, not enough space, so this portion remains up in the air, so not enough thigh support. And second, of course, is the ingress egress is a little difficult in this car. You've got a high sill here, and the overall height is low, so you have to mind the head while getting out. You also have to pick up yourself and then get out, so not the easiest car to get in and get out of, but that's one of the two negatives that we mentioned about the A-Class's rear seat. Now, as far as the boot of the A-Class sedan goes, it's pretty big and usable. You've got a huge opening here, and it's deep and wide as well, so you can throw in large size suitcases as well. And if you need some additional storage, you can pull these levers and drop down the seats. They fold 40-20-40, so overall pretty practical. The A-Class sedan will be sold in three versions: the A200 Petrol, the A200D Diesel, and the Yummy AMG, which should cost a little over rupees 60 lakhs ex-showroom because Mercedes is going to assemble this AMG in India. We will, however, only be concentrating on the regular A200, and the D is essentially a 4-cylinder, 150 horsepower, 320 Newton meters of torque diesel, which comes mated to an 8-speed automatic gearbox. What we have here is the Petrol. Now, the Petrol might carry the 200 badging, but it is in fact a 1.3-litre 4-cylinder turbocharged petrol. But don't let the lack of capacity fool you, because it still manages to produce 160 horsepower, and Mercedes claims that it will do 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in 8.3 seconds. So clearly it's not slow or underpowered. And the A200 Petrol, it comes mated to a 7-speed dual clutch instead of an 8-speed, which the diesel gets. Even when you're driving on the highway, you're doing 100, maybe 120 kilometers per hour wherever the roads and the speed limits permit. The A-Class sedan, this petrol engine, it remains quiet, and you can just be driving in comfort mode, and you'll have enough, there's enough poke in the throttle. You don't have to really work on the throttle hard. It just smooths and sails through most things. Now, I said comfort because it comes with three driving modes. You've got Eco, Comfort and Sport, and typical of most driving modes, it changes how the steering weight, how the steering weighs, that changes. Your throttle response changes, how your engine and gearbox combo react to the set throttle response, that changes. So that's how it functions, but we found the comfort mode to be good. No real issues there for most part. And then when you want to drive enthusiastically, let's say you shift to Sport. Now that's when the engine, the way it sounds after 4,500 RPM. I mean, it's not like it doesn't have the go. It has the go till about 4.5, but suddenly after 4.5, it just doesn't sound right. It sounds steady. It sounds like it's not enjoying, you're revving it as much. So now we've just passed 4.5, and you can feel the vibrations on the steering. You can feel the vibrations on the accelerator. And it's not a good feeling. So you don't. Eventually, you just end up short shifting, because that just seems like the more comfortable way, the quieter way of driving it. The dual clutch automatic, however, feels nice to use. It's alert, the pedal shifters work crisply, and the gearbox responds to throttle well as well. The A-Class sedan reacts to small bumps at slow speeds well too. It's not plush, and we won't term the ride uncomfortable or noisy either. It rounds the edges nicely, there's nothing that would put you off, and it's certainly nicer than the CLA. But give it something more serious to tackle, wider road joints, more squarish bumps, or even a slightly deep pothole, and there's a brittleness to the ride that creeps in. It can also get harsh and noisy at times. Handling, however, is quite entertaining. The steering on the A-Class isn't the quickest or the most feelsome, agreed, but the way the car turns into corners with lightness and accuracy, it makes you feel happy taking on a twisty road. The balance around the corner is good too, and it's not prone to understeer either, so it's quite neutrally balanced in that way. Now, we had set out to do two things at the start of the video. First was whether the new A-Class sedan checks the right boxes for it to be, like a proper luxury car. So let's tackle that first. Now, the A-Class sedan, it's got absolutely lovely interiors. You step inside, you look at it, and you want this car. So that's a huge tick. It's got all the right features that you need. It's got comfort in terms of seats and seating and space, all of that. And when you drive, the Connect is just what you'd expect from a well-engineered, well-put-together, intuitive car. Yes, it doesn't have a great engine, this petrol engine. I mean, it's good in the low and mid range, but when you start pushing it, it just sounds tinny, and it's not an engine that you enjoy right at the limit. Let's just say that. The gearbox, though, is good. The ride is average, nothing to write home about there, but it's acceptable, manageable. The handling, of course, is very intuitive, very quick, very sharp, very nice. So overall, the A-Class sedan, if you're looking to buy, like a step into the luxury, or you're trying, you want another option in your already huge fleet of luxury cars, the A-Class sedan fits right in. And now let's tackle the second part of what we asked at the start. So is the A-Class sedan then a better buying option than the BMW X1? Well, it's a yes and a no, and let's tackle the no first. Now, the X1 scores higher than the A-Class sedan when it comes to traditional Indian buying value. So it scores higher for the amount of space on offer in terms of seating at the back, accessibility, getting in and getting out, and overall usability factor is high on the X1. So this makes sense for people who are first time, or they're getting into or transcending into the luxury space as their first luxury car. Then let's tackle the yes, which is the A-Class sedan. Now, the A-Class sedan is good at all the luxury things that you expect. So in terms of features, how it looks on the outside, inside, the quietness of the cabin, all of that. And so the A-Class makes sense for people who already have, like we mentioned earlier, they already have a fleet of cars and they want to buy something smaller, something more manageable, maybe for another member of the family, or maybe just so that they're not as conspicuous, so they go with a smaller car. That's when the A-Class makes sense. So that's how it's a yes and a no. So I think Mercedes has done well with the A-Class, but there are reasons for you to buy the X1 and the A-Class as well. Do let us know if you agree with these reasons, or do you have your own, and write them in the comment box, because we'd really like to hear your point of view on this.